Jeff, I'm going to do my 2 cents again.
Okay.
Because I can't. Okay, for the record, anybody who's in Dr. DeWalt's class, remember, I graduated this college. I believe strongly in education and the students who come out of it. And I am here as a member of the board of advisors. If this industry excites you, want to try it, even for like one summer in order to get your hours, and you want some assistance preparing or looking at your resume or preparing for the interview, I'm here. I put my cards up here, and it's up to you to find me. I'm not going to find you, but if you want some help, I'm here to help. And it's okay to ask for help. You're no less of a capable individual or student if you're asking for help. As a matter of fact, it's a smart thing because you will be better prepared for the opportunity you're applying for. So we'll say that. I will leave my cards up here at the end. And I know Jeff for Vista because
I got to cut.
Okay, go ahead.
Behind you.
Okay.
So Jeff said you can run the whole thing.
Okay.
So Bridget Polinsky. Hi. Has anyone been to my morning motivation session ever? Yeah. Oh, I'm too bad because it's so much fun. All right. I'm crashing this because I sat in over there. And I'm also a graduate. I'm alumni. I lived in Aliso dorm. Anybody live in the dorms on campus? I'm sorry. They are tragic still. They look exactly the same. What's wrong with that? Okay. So this is what I learned today. When I go to the mornings of motivation, I learned about all of you, right? What I learned is that you're not exactly sure what you want to do. And others know exactly what you want to do, and we're trying to tell you not to do that. And that means all of you want to be event managers, we all keep telling you don't do it, and it'll ruin your life. Well, what I do know, I think, when I listen to you, is that you're all trying to figure it out, and you're all trying to build resumes that when you decide what you want to do as a resume, that gets you a job. Does that sound possible? All right, so I worked for NARET for over 30 years. I've interviewed many people like you. We hired lots of people from this college to go into our Voyager program. And what do I look for when I'm looking through 30 resumes? What makes a resume stand out? Yes? Experience? Do you read? Pretty and all that? I actually look for resumes that make me curious. So this person's sort of interesting. What did they do? Where have they worked? And I would tell you, looking for hotel leaders, hotel graduates, I can't think of something more interesting than a student working for overseas, working for a summer because they're so similar. I listened to this presentation and I thought, oh my gosh, that would be a cool thing for me to read on a resume. Consider somebody. You have to think out of the box. So you event managers, that's all they do is think out of the box about where to create spaces. If you know how to do that, and you can come to a hotel that's a high-rise building on the parking lot, I know that in your brains you would say, I can see 20 places to run an event right now. There are people in hotels that have never had experience like that, that look at that same hotel and see what's wrong. You would see something different. Does this make sense? I'm just telling you, this is interesting to me. As someone that so I really encourage you to ask them questions and think about it because it's cool as frick, and I'm going to work with this next summer too. Thanks for joining this session today. I'm so proud of all of you.
Okay, so Vista is here because, as Jeff will say, they are the largest privately held company that manages campgrounds in public environments. That's why they're here. They're also good professional business models. And I like to invite my friends to share their opportunities with my friends as students. So this is a very tight, this industry is very communal and collegial, and that's why here. And I like Jeff, and Jeff's been a rock star for us so far. And so I'm going to get out of Jeff's way, like Jeff run the show.
All right, I see some faces that I recognize from Benelli. Thank you for coming back. I mean, that's when you got lunch. You know, when I went to Florida International University Hotel School, my favorite class was a class called Meat Science, because we learned about meat, we learned about marbling. The guy that taught it was from Boston, so it wasn't marbling, it was modeling. Cherry pink to cherry red modeling, good modeling. And then after the class was done, people in the class from the Culinary Institute would cook all the food that we just that was a great class. So I'm like you, I came from a different program, but the same program. We'll talk a little bit more about my background, but just to quickly tag on to what Bridget just said, we just hired a GM at a place that we operate in Texas called Canyon Eagles. This guy, Dylan, went to the same first 2-year college with me, Palm Beach State College, whatever. That was a weird Canadian. His background, talking about unique things, his background is he ran pop-up hotels at Coachella, Bonnaroo, other music festivals. We're now working on this big festival at Canyon of the Eagles right now because there's a full solar eclipse coming, right? And we are now doing a thing with astronomy and food and beverage and hotel and pop-up hotel. It's more festival, I think, than eclipse, than science. I think people are like more into the music and the DJs and all that, but it's still cool. But that is a unique thing. I'll talk a little bit more in a second or two about some of the things that I did that might be appropriate for you. I hope now to talk a little bit more about Vista and less about Benelli that we just went to. But those of you that don't know, Benelli Bluffs RV Resort and Campground is an LA County facility, just a couple miles from here, big one, 500 site RV park. That's pretty cool. But let's talk a little bit more broadly, jump into it. Here's my background. I worked in Palm Beach, Florida at Breakers Hotel, and I was a bellman and a front desk clerk, and I went to college in Miami, and I worked at Doral before Trump owned it, and I worked in Miami Beach at the Fontainebleau Hilton, and did these things while I was in school. So in the daytime, I'd learn about like cost controls and how to control your food and beverage, and then I'd go to work at night and see how the banquet cooks would get around all the systems that we set up. It was good. It was good. I learned that way. Then I went to work for Sheraton, drove across the country in my Volkswagen and ended up in San Diego. That general management trainee program was really good. I worked in every department, folding sheets, checking in guests, did the whole shooting match. That was a good, people were like, why do you want to get trained in the whole hotel if you're going to go into sales and marketing? Because you make better sales decisions on groups if you know how it all fits. You don't overpromise and underdeliver by saying stuff that's not going to work. Sorry, you guys. I didn't want to have my back to you. And then I had a couple jobs, national sales manager jobs in some hotels in Palm Springs and San Diego. One of them, Meridian Hotels, a French hotel chain, was good. Then I worked citywide convention sales at the San Diego Convention Center. We did bids. I did a bid for the Super Bowl. I had a crappy little convention called Comic-Con. It was a junk piece of business back then. My boss told me to get rid of it because it was terrible. It was never going to go anywhere. Mickey Mouse little comic book show. It was so long ago. It was like terrible. And now it's turned into like the largest show on the West Coast, and all Hollywood goes there. But it was a rinky-dink little show. It was like a bunch of dudes, kind of nerdy dudes making comics from a trade show. But just to say, things change. Your world of here. Went to Hawaii. There's a couple little steps in there that I didn't write down there. I worked at a surfing magazine and television show called H3O in Hawaii for about 6 years. That was pretty cool. But it changed my perspective, and I think that makes for kind of an interesting resume. Matter of fact, the first time I went to interview at this job at Molokai Ranch, I didn't get it because I had gone surfing. My board came back, hit me in the face. I had like 8 stitches and a black eye. I went to the interview, and the lady that interviewed me was just like, a bar-fighting lunatic. I'm not going to hire this guy. And then the job came open again, and I interviewed, and I got it. So this was a cool job. This was a glamping resort before glamping was a thing. We called it ecotourism then. It was much more popular in New Zealand, Australia, other places. They were ahead of us. They were raised canvas platforms on decks, solar heated showers, photovoltaic cells running the electrical system. Very unique. Had it been on the island of Maui, it would have been on the cover of Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler, and it would have been, but Molokai was hard to get to. Some in the community didn't want to see development. So these are the challenges sometimes when you're going into a new market. I got recruited to come back to the mainland. That's what we call the United States, kind of Maine and over in Hawaii, and worked as director of sales at El Capitan. Now, El Capitan Canyon is not that far from here. It's in Santa Barbara. It is about 120 park model cabins and safari tents. This was an early glamping and very successful one. Owners developed it, sold it for a lot of money. It's now owned by Sun RV Resorts, which is a big player in that business. They are the luxury RV. I'm not sure they know what to do with it, but they wanted it because it was cool. So that's what they got. And then I was general manager, marketing director at another place called Warner Springs Ranch, GM at a big RV resort and campground in Temecula. And now I've moved into this kind of business development role. Business development means I'm on the hunt for new opportunities. That's how I know Margaret. Margaret is very well respected in the industry as a person that facilitates public-private partnerships and making them so that they work for both parties. If it doesn't work for both parties, it doesn't work for the profit-seeking private business, will be gone. And if it doesn't work for the agency, and it doesn't serve the public's needs or the needs of the agency, it won't work out. So that's the challenging part. Margaret made a name for herself in that industry, being successful at putting those together and structuring those. So I think the next guy, Rob, who was a GM at Benelli, was supposed to be here, but I will show you he's from New York originally, started out, he got his degree, went to work for American Airlines, cruises, HR he went into, that serves you well in this industry, believe me. General manager in Colorado, back in the HR game, and he started out as our assistant GM there, and now is our GM at Benelli. Good guy. More about the internship a little later, but he's got an internship going. And by the way, anybody that's got any questions, just fire away. You don't even need to raise your hand or whatever. It's just the goal here is to have a two-way communication. So if you see something that doesn't make sense, there's no bad question. Okay, if I didn't make something clear, that's my fault, not yours. So, talking about Vista Recreation. Now, first of all, Vista Recreation is a brand that you probably never heard of because most of our properties in all these places are with different agencies. Does this thing have a laser pointer on it? There it is, nice. It's very snazzy. I like this. So that's Benelli. We have 38 locations around here. Okay, most of them are in Big Bear. They're campgrounds with the Forest Service up in Big Bear. So Arizona, we've got Northern California. They're all over the country. They are marinas. They are lodges. They are campgrounds. They are RV resorts. We've got one out here. Anybody ever heard of Glamis? You ever heard of Glamis? It's a big off-highway riding area out in the desert. Its official name is the Imperial Sand Dunes. We have a contract with BLM, not that BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, right? And we sell the permits for them. But that's so there's a unique array. We've got a lot of contracts down here in Tennessee with the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a power company. But how do we work with a power company? Well, when you're a power company, you own lakes. Lakes have hydroelectric power. Lakes have an obligation to be public resources and have outdoor water recreation. They have campgrounds on them. The power company doesn't want to run them. Find someone that does. We share the revenue with them. It's a win-win that Margaret and her help structure. Same thing in Texas. We've got a couple locations here in Texas. Again, LCRI, Lower Colorado River Authority, another water agency. So there's a lot of weird agencies. We have the water wholesaler for Los Angeles is the Metropolitan Water District. Metropolitan Water District owns the land that the Diamond Valley Marina is on. A partnership with them. The marina is going to turn eventually into a campground, into an RV resort. These are how the relationships are done. Don't tell any of my competitors about that one yet. Okay? They don't know about that one yet. So anyway, that's how this world works. Our agencies, Army Corps of Engineers, state parks, sometimes county parks, 15 million visitors a year, concession contracts all over the country. Total operations are 600 campgrounds, but some of these campgrounds, like in Utah here, in Salt Lake City, that's one contract with 120 campgrounds. And some of the campgrounds are small, right? So, all right. Questions, anyone? I'm a good presenter, huh? All right. So some of the things we do, we talked about a little bit. Resorts, campgrounds and cabins, marinas, food service, retail, day use. This is our Catherine Landing, Arizona. That's on Lake Mojave. south of Las Vegas near Laughlin, Nevada. That's a really cool spot with a little hotel and a giant marina, 800 slip marina. It's all about boat rentals and stuff. This is a little marina called Lake Chabot in Northern California. This is a cabin in Big Basin, which is the Redwood State Park, California State Parks. We've got a lot of California State Park programs. This is the store at Catherine Landing. So it's a variety of things, but the skill set is the same. It's hospitality, food and beverage, service, recreation. Ooh, snazzy little features here. Some of the stuff that we end up doing, special events. We talked a little bit about special events. Well, we just held a large professional bass tournament. That's a colorful group, I'll tell you that. Those guys are colorful. Professional tournament. We've got a few contracts with the Park Service for parking and gate service, and we rent bikes and boats and kayaks. Anybody know what a quagga mussel is? Quagga inspection? It's an invasive species of aquatic mussel that gets into water systems and destroys hydroelectric systems. We learned how to inspect for that as part of our contract to protect the lakes that we are overseeing, because when quagga mussels get in there, they invade and destroy the place. So we learned how to test for that, and now that's a service that helps us win contracts. Sort of what we do is try to work with the needs of that agency and get in there. This is something I wanted to talk about with you. This is something that we are really getting in on. That's Earl Hunter right there. Earl owns Black Folks Camp 2. It's a company. It's a for-profit company. This guy's getting major speaking. He made us a deal to speak at our convention. He's a very dynamic guy. He played football at Appalachian State. It's just one of those guys you can hang around with. You're like, I may be camping with this guy in Northern California in a couple of weeks. So he's great. But he's got a training program where it trains our employees how to be more welcoming and welcome people to the outdoors. Because one of the things that we haven't, as an industry, done well is train new people how to come to the outdoors and enjoy it more. If you don't grow up in a family that's a hunting, fishing, trout fishing kind of, you're like, what do I do with camping? I don't know how to set up a tent, Earl makes it clear. It's don't bring kids out and teach them how to fish for a day. Bring the whole family out, teach the whole family how to enjoy this together. That's how you get people into this. It's not just these little one-offs, which is cool. That's good too. That's a good thing. Who doesn't like to watch a kid catch his first fish? But for us, this is training our staff. But number two is, oops, wrong button. Got too fancy there. Manager and training program opportunities, and we need more staff diversity. So we are trying to work. We have a management and training program, and Earl is working with us. Once we get all our folks trained up, is to how to recruit more folks. One of the things that we recruit for a lot is camp hosts. Camp hosts usually have their own RV. So I don't think there's anybody in this room that owns an RV. Am I wrong? Who's got an RV?
Oh, wait, whoa.
We want you as a camp host.
Actually, I'm using it to earn income.
Oh, you got it as a rental? Are you? Which one are you in? Which one? You in Hip Camp with it or
RV share?
RV share?
No, I'm in another one. Outdoorsy.
Outdoorsy. Okay, yeah, I know those guys. Yeah, they're good. That's a good company.
I have one, and when I build up more money and buy more.
Yeah.
There's just one right now.
Buy a piece of property, you've got a glamping resort. So, you know what I mean?
Well, right now it's in the big property land, so it's perfect for more RV.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is the kind of entrepreneurial thing. Go ahead, Margaret.
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the reason beyond this company and its belief that the way to create a sustainable business is to have employees that look like America and guests who look like America, which is a smart business move. The public agencies who they work for realize that their staff and their guests do not look like America. It's a problem. And yet, as America diversifies, America needs in positions who are greeting people to come to the public lands to look like America. And so it's kind of, again, I'm a big win-win-win. And so this is a smart business decision. it's gonna improve the business model for the company. It's gonna make the guest who arrives at the place feel more welcome because they see someone who looks like them. So it's them as a company, but it's also the agencies that are working for realize they have a problem. And that this is part of a way to improve the welcoming of people to the great outdoors, which, as you know, is all of our right as citizens of this country. And yet not all our country enjoys that right for those public lands, so.
Yeah, good, excellent point. I was just in Arkansas. The Forest Service put out an RFI, request for information. Which if you heard me make that joke before, that's where they get their free consulting. So we went to this place in Northwest Arkansas, and they had this little resort there they didn't know what to do with. I'm like, let's make it an entry-level glamping resort, welcoming to everybody. Let's make it diverse. It's near Fayetteville. It's got all these sort of like, it's a small lake, easy to navigate, not dangerous. A lot of mountain bike trails around it, but not super technical ones that a family could do. So my pitch to the Forest Service was, let's put a bunch of cabins in here and like make it easy for people to enjoy the outdoors. And then, spread out, because as Margaret said, the agencies know that. They also know that their employees don't look like America. A lot of times you go to that kiosk or that ranger, some of it's because they're way out there in the boondocks, and it's the folk, the hillbillies that have lived there for a long time, that's their country. But it doesn't have to be, it's everyone. As she said, it's everyone's land, and it's smart business for us. And Earl has helped us get this Unity Blaze certification. It's not super difficult, but it's eye-opening to see things from another perspective. And I learned a lot from it, and called Earl a friend, and we're going down this road. And heck, Earl might be a guy for a career with it. He keeps growing his company at the rate he's growing it now. It's pretty cool. Question? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Yeah, we're doing it with the direction of overall with Earl's help. And it's just like what Margaret just said. We're trying to broaden it and make it more open. And we've got a park that we run in San Francisco. I'd say 80% it's in San Leandro. I'd say 80% of the guests there are not Caucasian, right? So we're trying to mix the food and the staff and everything to appeal to that community, because it's smart business too, so this all kind of goes together, and there's some regional factors in this as well, on what you do, but we think it's really smart. And we have a real push on to get camping and glamping and outdoor lodge managers of diverse backgrounds into our company. So on recruiting, Camp Host, I think I mentioned, is often something that someone that owns an RV does. It's you move in and you run a season there. We've got marinas. That's a pretty fun job, working on the docks, moving around. But it's a rental business fundamentally. It's an equipment recreation rental business. We've got front desk. We've got maintenance techs. A lot of our folks are out in the field. We have an annual company meeting where we all sit in the meeting room. That's our safety guy, Mike, there. We had a safety meeting last week, by the way, talking about unique venues, where we all got on pontoon boats, went on a Lake Mojave, came up on the beach, did our safety meeting, had a barbecue, listened intently to the safety content, which is sometimes kind of sleepy, because we knew that as soon as we were done, those jet skis lined up on the beach, we could all go out there and cruise around on Lake Mojave on the jet skis. So that's something that's sort of unspoken a little bit in what we're talking about today, is that, are you going to work at Catherine Landing, or you're going to work in Zion? Well, if you like mountain biking, or if you like water recreation, or if you like hiking in Colorado, we just won a contract at the Arapaho. We won the Arapaho Roosevelt Pawnee National Grassland Forest Service contract near Fort Collins. Epic mountain biking, hiking, rock climbing, all right there, right around Rocky Mountain National Park too. So that's sort of we're a business. We run it for profit. If we didn't, we wouldn't be around too long. But the unspoken is you can potentially be in spots that are pretty cool, if that's your thing. This is the internship program at Benelli Bluffs. And Rob was going to talk about this. But this is really geared towards you guys, everybody in this room. This just looks a little bit like a job description, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But fundamentally, what we want the focus to be on is learning customer service, learning about the resort host, and learning about special events at the location, learning about guest services. It's close. It would be something interesting to see on a resume for someone, at Marriott or with another company or Hilton that's like, oh, this is interesting. Because I don't know if you were there, but Bridget mentioned over at Benelli that the hotel companies are getting in this business. They are. They don't know much about it. In some cases, they're not very good at it. So if they see somebody that's like worked in it, they're like, oh, I need this guy for my team. One of the reasons we hired the guy in Texas, we're like, oh, you worked in festival hotels and pop-up hotels? Well, we've got a giant eclipse coming here, so go to the place, bro. We need your back.
So we're gonna get this, I'm gonna work with Jake to get the information on this internship and all this other stuff for Vista onto the Handshake site. So that's where you're gonna be looking for this. So that would take us a little while. This would be a summer internship. And the other thing I would say here is Rob, the GM, and I put this together specifically for this program. And we did that because it's very close by. And these are the 3 areas he's committed to, and the first person who gets that job is probably going to set the foundation for having this internship continue. So, if you're interested, you need to realize, and you get it, you would be the trailblazer representing this campus, no pressure. But anyways, and that was done with the idea that you can get some exposure to this industry. And then I honestly hadn't really thought about what Bridget talked about which is how unique this experience could stand out. And this sort of internship, maybe you don't want to go to a national park this summer, but if you had this internship this summer and liked it, then I can tell you right now, you would be like very well positioned to go work for guest services or Aramark from one of their properties, because they'd be like, oh, they're committed to it. And we made a mistake last time. We talked about you kind of had to know more about RVs or have some more. You really don't. This is really a hospitality centric thing. And you can literally learn by doing with the team there. So we'll get this organized for you. And this would, probably open up right after the new year. And then the idea would be May through September. Yeah. So
and I'll add on to this too, that we have a lot of a diverse array of operations in Southern California and in Arizona. And so in addition to what's here, I will commit to whoever does this, I will take them to Lake Hemet, to Diamond Valley, to some of these other operations, just to put eyes on them and see our glamping units at Lake Hemet. We got this new unit, super deluxe glamping unit there, and we've got some cabins and canvas tents, and it's a lake, and we do trout stalking and camping. And then we've got Mount Laguna down in San Diego. We've got Big Bear. We've got a lot. Catherine Landing has that giant marina resort. So I can say that, maybe we'd spend a day or 2 days as part of this internship, and I could show you all those other locations. Your background wouldn't just be this. It'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen and familiar with operations of all types, glamping, marinas, all that stuff. Suddenly, that is a pretty interesting looking resume for someone that's like works for Marriott or whatever. It's like, huh? You got all these, what's this? So anyway, that's a thing. But this I think is a cool opportunity because it made it really easy to kind of start there. So questions, anybody? Okay.
So are all of these opportunities always seasonal, or once you're in the company, are they seasonal contracts, or are they?
Some are. That's a very good question. It's a very good question. That shows some understanding already of this industry. They're not all season. A lot of our locations are open year round. Mount Laguna is a Forest Service operation, open year round. Big Bear, yeah, they close some of them when the snowpack gets pretty big up there. Colorado, they definitely close. The Wasatch Range in Utah, they definitely close those in winter. But some of our folks that work in Utah in the mountains in the summer go to Arizona in the winter, back and forth. So there's ways to kind of move around that. And then our Lake Hemet operation is year round. Benelli is year round. Diamond Valley is year round. Texas is year round. Cool thing about Texas, our Texas location is 3 miles down the road from a place called Spider Mountain Bike Park. It's the only chairlift in the state of Texas, not because there's snow, but because it's a downhill mountain bike park. Take the chairlift up and you take their flow trails down. It's 3 miles down the road from our location. We're building mountain bike trails there too. We're trying to make that whole thing a mountain bike destination. So it's, in some ways, we're developing a destination. That's hard because we need to make us.
And Jeff, eventually you're gonna have employee housing in Texas, right?
Texas will have, I talked to the folks down, there's a little RV park adjacent to, we're looking about buying that just for employee housing.
Right, so this is another one that can have employee housing eventually.
And
And that's is that the one that's got the lodge? That's the picture?
Correct, that was Catherine Landing, but the hotel in Texas, Canyon of the Eagles, has an even better hotel than that, with good meeting space actually. But,
So all of the locations offering housing or no?
no, not all of them. Some of them, like Benelli, does not have because it's in an urban setting. Most of them that have housing are because they are at the Grand Canyon. They're in Death Valley. They're in Zion National Park. That's generally how it's done. Now, the other element with housing is what I talked about with RVs. Those are the camp hosts, where the campers go and live in the campground and manage it with their own RV. We provide, of course, complimentary utilities and connections. You live there and you make money.
So just to be clear, one of the things that I've tried to do with this series is identify not only the array of opportunities, but those that do come with housing and ones that in the future will have housing. So both the Aramark ones and the guest service ones, most of those positions come with housing and food service. Obviously, if you have your own RV with these guys, there's a lot of opportunities. And then emergingly, as they have more larger properties, they are making the investment in the housing because they realize that's really what you need. So it's kind of an array.
Yeah. So if you've ever been to national parks, if you've ever been to Yosemite, Grand Canyon, Zion, you often will see people from all over the world there that are working there for the summer, right? I remember I went to one in Yellowstone. The whole staff was from Moldova. You know, I was like, wow, this is a trip, right? Romania, right? Whatever. They're from all over. They're on, that's called the J1 visa program. But I prefer not to. I'd rather hire Americans. I'd rather hire folks that are actually trained in hospitality too. So, this is how you can, this is what I wanted to show you. I'm glad I put this photo in. This is Catherine Landing. This is where we did that safety meeting on the beach the other day. This is the thing to think about, unrelated to everything I'm talking about today, to that Bridget was talking about. Those of you that think the wedding industry is a big player in the events game, well, it sort of is if you're a winery. It sort of is if you're a wedding venue, but it's not really that big of a piece of the puzzle. It's more like unique. The big chains are like, they're sick of ballrooms, they're sick of breakout rooms. They want to figure out how to do this. Any of you guys ever heard of a segment of the travel industry called the incentive travel world? Incentive travel?
Mike's,
That,
part of Mike's.
yes, exactly. Meetings, incentives, conventions, expositions. Incentive travel is the most lucrative, profitable segment in the whole industry. It's because companies take their top producing best employees and the travel is an incentive. It's a thing. You're our core team. So that's what Marriott is trying to solve. New and unique ways to woo customers with unique outdoor experiences that are like memorable, that they can motivate their top performers with. And they do it with stuff like this. They do it with unique experiences. They don't do it so much with meeting rooms and, you know, and shrimp cocktails. They've done that, right? Been there, done that, right?
So we will get all this stuff into Handshake along with a copy of the presentation. So the place, even though he's got this here, this presentation here, the field trip presentation will all get organized into Handshake. So is that
Canvas.
Into Canvas, sorry.
Canvas, and then we can work on getting the job.
Into Handshake. Okay, that's what we wanted to talk about. And the only reason I'm saying that is the job itself at Benelli, we need to get into Handshake. So don't apply it this way. That's my fault. I didn't make that clear to him that we wanted to move everybody through Handshake. So anyways.
Jeff wants everybody to apply here.
Technically, you look, Aaron Mark, what a nice guy.
It's direct,
Just-
your parents.
Exactly. So let me just say one thing. Margaret has brought some real industry leader. The guy that's coming next week, Todd Wynn Perry, I know Todd. He is with Laventhal, the former Laventhal Horwath, now with Laventhal. Horwath, sorry, they used to be at Laventhal, which was when I was in hotel school, was like, everybody was like, oh, they're the best consultants in the hotel industry. And they still are. My friend Paul is now a principal with them, and that's how I was introduced to that. Because as Margaret said earlier, the person sitting next to you 20 years from now is probably gonna be with a big hotel company, like, oh, my old roommate is now the general manager of the Westin in Atlanta, or this or that. So all these folks that you're meeting here, they may be your employer or may refer a job. I got referred a job from Cal Poly Pomona. My job at Warner Springs Ranch, somehow there was an email getting passed around about that job, and it made it to me up in Santa Barbara, and I'm like, can't afford to live in Santa Barbara anymore. This place is ridiculously expensive. I got that job, and it got me on the path that I'm on. So thank you very much.
Thank
Your
you very
school.
much, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?